Hi guys, I'm Athena, and today I want to talk about why I think it is important to practice speaking with a decent accent when you're attempting to learn a foreign language. I don't really want to say native accent because obviously amongst natives there are variations in pronunciation and accent, and this is something that I've always focused very heavily upon myself, but it's also something that I've noticed a lot of other language learners and polyglots that I've seen on YouTube and also some that I've met in real life tend to kind of sweep under the rug and brush aside and say, don't focus so much necessarily on perfecting that accent, but rather work on accumulating vocabulary words to store in your language arsenal and work on your conversational skills. And while I would agree that that is extremely important, obviously you cannot hope to hold a conversation if you are not familiar with the words that you need to get your point across. But I would also say that there are certain incentives to learning a decent accent and that it is worthwhile in the end. And I'm not saying that everybody out there is Helmut Lottie and that they're going to be able to recreate the sounds of different languages with ease, but I do think that it's worth a shot to work on pronunciation and work on trying to cultivate some kind of accent that kind of eliminates your native accent. I would generally consider my German accent to be, not the typical American accent, but there are some words that I, to this day, pronounce wrong because I initially, when I started learning German, pronounced them wrong. And now, I receive comments every week saying that I pronounce Amerikanerin as such instead of Amerikanerin. And even if I've heard Germans pronounce that word so many times, it's very difficult for me to just all of a sudden switch how I pronounce a word that I've been saying for several years. But so when I first start learning a new language, I focus usually for about a month and a half, possibly even longer, it depends on how much time I have, strictly on pronunciation keys and listening to songs by native speakers to kind of see how I could possibly make myself sound in that foreign language and kind of decide like, okay, this is how I would like to sound. And with German, for example, I listen to various artists. I listened to, it was 2008 when I first started, so I was listening to a lot of La Feu and Tokyo Hotel and Nina, Sammy Deluxe. Obviously, I knew that I wasn't going to sound like Sammy Deluxe, but Bill Kaulitz, he was the one whose accent really influenced me the most, and I thought like, okay, this is an accent that I could see myself speaking with, and so I really listened to Tokyo Hotel songs a lot, and one of the things I did, I remember I've received a lot of questions about my German pronunciation and how I have managed to pronounce words such as ich, mich, and dich, because the CH sound is typically kind of difficult for non-native speakers to pronounce. And basically the way that I learned that sound was there were two songs in particular that I heard very often. The one was Wer bin ich from La Feu, and then the other one was Ich bin nicht ich from Tokyo Hotel. And those two songs, like just by practicing singing them and practicing recreating the same sounds that the artist did, I was able to kind of cultivate my accent. I remember when I first started learning German, I would actually get sore throats because I was reading a lot in German and I was saying a lot of sounds that I had never really said before, and my throat wasn't really used to those. So I remember like words that had like SCH and like TZ, like I remember always like being like and like clearing my throat after I would say them because it would like hurt after a while. At first, when I thought I might pursue some career having to do with foreign languages, I thought that I could be a voiceover actor and work, perhaps doing the voiceovers for German, French, and English cartoons. And I thought that that would be like a wonderful job. And of course, two of my favorite celebrities, Bill Kaulitz and Nina, they both worked on the same movie together, Otto and die Minimoys, Arthur and the Invisibles. And so there were a lot of jokes made by my friends saying, that the only reason I was interested in becoming a voiceover actor was because of Bill Kaulitz, even though that was not true. So after that, I kind of pursued other areas, specifically written translation, because I am a writer myself and I'm very interested in etymology and just, I love translating things. It's very boring. I think it is kind of impressive when you are a non-native speaker and you can kind of blend in with the crowd when you're in that foreign country. In my opinion, it's the difference between visiting a country and, sounding like the cute foreigner and then kind of being made fun of for having, just a really bad accent. And, as, sad as that is, and obviously not everyone can speak with a perfect accent, I do think that that's another incentive why it's worthwhile, because when you first go to a country and you want to speak in that language, if it seems like you're struggling to pronounce the words, whoever you're speaking with might want to just say, well, what's your native language? Let's try and speak in that, or let's speak together in English, or whatever the lingua franca is in whatever region you're in. And that's a shame, because I feel that a lot of people who are really attempting to speak a foreign language, and they know the grammar, they know the vocabulary, people might hear their accent and might say, oh, I'll speak to them in English. And I know that this happens a lot in Germany, not necessarily with my own experience, but just other people that I've heard who have been, who've told me that they've, been learning German for a while, gone to Germany and tried to converse with Germans in German, and they just only wanted to speak English. I also feel that it's really important to focus on an accent if you're very interested in the literature of a language and the sounds of a language, because, for instance, if you're reading a poem or if you're listening to rap music, you might not get the alliteration that makes the line so great, and you might not really understand that because, one, you're not a native speaker, and two, you don't really recognize the sound patterns because you're not very familiar with it. But I feel, in that respect, I feel that if you're interested in the literature and things like that of a language, that you might want to focus on the accent, because then when you're attempting to write things in that language, if you're interested in writing in that language, you will already have a very cultivated style. I do think that it is worthwhile, and I do think that it's something that if you're really interested in pursuing a career in foreign languages, especially translating, you might want to look into working on pronunciation, because it does, in my opinion, it would make you sound more professional, and it would also demonstrate your, knack for the language. Links to my blog, Facebook, Twitter, and second channel are all down in the description box, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!